If you're ready to leave the United States, getting an eSIM can be a helpful tool to help you transition to another country. An eSIM is a digital SIM card built into your phone, so you don't need a physical SIM card to connect to the cellular network. There's two types of eSIMs. One is like actually from your provider, which would provide a cellular network like a phone number and as well as data. But you can also use travel apps to allow you to get an eSIM that just provides data. We use Airalo, but there's a ton of apps and we'll put them on the screen, but this is the one that we've used as we've had the most reliable time with it. With most of these eSIM providers, the steps should be pretty much the same among all of them, but this is how it goes for Airalo. The first step to do is pick which country you want to go to. So inside the eSIM provider, they should have a list of a lot of countries that you have available. You just pick which one you want to go into and you can check and see what their plans are. We found that 3 gigs of data, which covers 30 days, is the best plan for us in Airalo, but there are lots of different plans depending on how long you plan to stay and how much data you like to use. Once you pick which plan you want, you have to purchase it and then install it to your phone. From there, there's just a couple more steps in order to finish the connection. Normally, you have to enable data roaming, and then you have to do a couple small steps, which is different depending on where you're going. So each country does have different rules for how they set up their eSIMs. Usually it is laid out for you directly how you have to do it, so it's not complicated at all. If you're having trouble, there is troubleshooting. Airalo specifically does have like a WhatsApp live chat, so you can actually go in there and communicate with them directly, and it's great. They're usually quite responsive and it gets the problem solved quickly. But before contacting them, there is a couple easy things that you can usually do that tends to fix it for us. So the first step is usually to restart your phone. Normally it just refreshes everything and allows the network to connect and refresh properly, and this generally fixes the problem for us. The other thing you can try to do is to toggle airplane mode a couple times. This also tends to do the same thing, but usually restarting the phone will fix it, but if it doesn't, sometimes this does help. The last thing to do is double check the settings that they have, because if you missed anything, it might not work at all. Usually it's just double checking data roaming is on, double checking that your network is connected to the right provider. One important thing you should do with these eSIMs though is to always install it before you leave the country you're in now. Mostly because you need network connectivity of some sort to get the installation process to complete. This is important because if you get to the next country and you need like data to access any information you have for customs or immigration, then you're set. We forgot to do it one time. We were border crossing in Malaysia and we had no access to data and couldn't show any of our documentation or anything to the immigration people. But it needs to be installed and properly set up before you leave so that it's ready to go when you land in the country. Another helpful tip we have is to double check the prices of plans for eSIMs in the country you're going to. Some countries outside of the United States and Canada, it's actually very cheap to get data and you can get a lot for very little amount of money. So we honestly recommend that you use these eSIMs like Airalo just as like a transition and potentially get a long-term plan in the country you're going to if you're there long enough. I think I've covered everything about eSIMs that's actually important, but if there's any other questions you have or you'd like to share which providers you use, just let us know in the comments.